8 spine-chilling Alaskan tales. Terrifying secrets revealed from the cursed snowstorm's haunt. The winds howled like a pack of wolves. Frostvale was bracing itself for a snowstorm, and the townsfolk murmured tales of a cursed blizzard long whispered through the years. Rumors of spirits prowled the white woods, seeking lost souls who dared to wander into the storm's embrace. Lisa tightened her grip on the supply box, her pulse quickening. The frost-coated windows trembled under the mounting winds, sending icy fingers creeping down her spine. Fear had its grip on her heart. Tonight, she'd work her shift as a nurse, leaving her unsuspecting children in the clutches of a seemingly innocent neighbor. With the children nestled into their beds, Lisa stole a glance out the window. The night was eerily still, yet something lurked in the shadows. Mr. Jenkins, the elderly neighbor, loomed at the edge of the porch, framed in glimmering moonlight. He wore a twisted smile, eager and unsettling. He offered to watch the kids while she worked, proclaiming himself the town's protector. But why watch over her little ones so fervently? The chill in the air deepened as she dismissed the pit in her stomach. They had always been taught to confront the unknown, to fight fear. Yet, the night stretched into an oppressive silence. The wind screeched outside, stealing sounds from the world. Her children whispered in their sleep, voices tumbling into shadows. The shadows are coming for us, Mommy. Her heart dropped. What shadows? She shook her head, convincing herself kids have nightmares, just silly stories invented in the dim light. Stop it, she told herself. Just finish the night shift. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm began. An angry rhythm echoed against her home, and Lisa's unease intensified. She confided in the local authorities about Mr. Jenkins. Her fears brushed off like snowflakes melting on the ground. The bitterness of their dismissal hung heavy in the air like smoke. She felt corners of her mind darken. Struggling to breathe, she paced the living room, the walls tightening with every passing moment. As shadows flickered from the candles, the flickering flame cast a dance of ominous shapes. Her children's laughter once filled the space, now replaced with a quiet heaviness. A sudden bang echoed, a gust of wind bashing against the door, rattling the hinges. Panic flooded her chest. It wasn't just the storm. There was a chilling malevolence hanging over her family that seemed to pulse in the falling snow. And there was Mr. Jenkins again, watching from the glass as if he hungered for something, her children, their innocence. His gaze was a predator's, slicing through the dim light like a knife in the dark. She gripped her phone, ready to dial. But suddenly all signals cut off, leaving her stranded, helpless against whatever had awakened with the storm. Lisa crouched closer to her children. She could almost feel the curse in the air, thickening an unwelcome friend with a sinister grin. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs. Could the stories be true? Would she face the fate of those families lost before her, their laughter swallowed by the snow? Little did she know, the storm had just begun, and so had her own fight for survival. As the wind howled outside, a new terror shadowed the corners of her mind, whispering secrets that might just claim her family, too. As the storm intensified, the atmosphere inside the house grew heavier, pressing down like a weight on Lisa's shoulders. The wind howled louder, almost clawing at the walls, threatening to tear her home apart. Shadows flickered across the room, forming grotesque shapes that sent tremors of dread through her body. "Mommy, I'm scared," whispered little Mia, her voice barely breaking through the cacophony of the storm. Lisa leaned closer, wrapping her arms protectively around her daughters. "It's okay, sweetie. It's just the wind," she replied, though her voice trembled. Could she even convince herself anymore? Then, without warning, the lights flickered. The house was soon wrapped in an oppressive darkness. Panic surged through her like a cold wave. She fumbled for the flashlight she kept for emergencies, her hands shaking as the beam cut through the shadows. Each flicker of the beam revealed more unsettling details. Familiar objects suddenly morphed into terrifying shapes. A chair appeared with monstrous arms, stretching towards her. A coat hanging in the hallway looked like a figure poised to leap. Lisa fought to hold on to her sanity. Perhaps it was just the storm distorting her mind, but the banging continued. The door rattled insidiously, fueled by an unseen force, making her jump with every thud. Lisa swallowed hard. "Stay quiet, girls," she whispered, squeezing Mia's hand tightly. With a surge of resolve, she crept toward the door, flashlight trembling in her grasp. There had to be a logical explanation for the commotion outside. She peered through the window, her breath fogging the glass, heart thumping in her chest. The whiteout obscured everything. Shapes danced in the blizzard, and she could swear she saw figures carved from the storm itself. The whispers grew louder, an incoherent murmur carried by the icy winds, an echo of laughter mixed with cries that sent a chill down her spine. Those were the stories the townsfolk warned about. The lost souls in the storm. Panic gripped her as fragments of the legends flashed through her mind. What if they weren't stories? Suddenly, she heard a faint, affectionate voice. "Lisa?" It was Mr. Jenkins, calling from outside. "I'm here to help. Let me in. I can keep your children safe." The friendly facade twisted her gut. What did he want? Desperation clawed at her. Lisa stumbled back, clutching the flashlight as if it were a lifeline. "No, just go away," she shouted, shaking her head. But the voice persisted, soothing yet sinister, slicing through her resolve. "I'm only trying to protect them." Another loud bang jolted her. This time it felt like something had slammed against the house hard. She pivoted back at the windows. Shapes swirled mercilessly, faces distorted with agony, mouths wide as if to scream, but unable to escape the storm-esque grip. The air was electric with danger, thick with threats just outside her door. "Mommy, what is happening?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "Stay close to me." But before she could finish, the lights flickered again, then went out completely, plunging them into darkness. A chilling silence enveloped the room, broken only by the howl of the wind, which now seemed to be laughing. Lisa's heart raced. The shadows began creeping toward them like fingers reaching to snatch them away. "We've got to go," she exclaimed, pulse racing. She grabbed Mia and Sarah, their small hands fumbling together in fear, but the silhouettes outside were circling, biding their time. A sickening dread settled in Lisa's stomach. What could she do? Then she remembered the cellar. A hidden space, clutching long-forgotten truths and perhaps a means to evade what sought them. The decision pierced her like ice. Downstairs. Now. As she led them toward the basement door, the world around them trembled with whispers of deeper secrets poised to emerge. Was she running away from safety, or into the arms of something far darker? With every step down, Lisa felt the chill of the shadows slither behind her. She shivered what awaited them in the dark. Was there any hope left at all? The cellar door creaked ominously as Lisa pushed it open. A gust of stale, cold air rushed past them, chilling her to the bone. She stepped inside, the flashlight's beam wavering as fear gripped her heart. Shadows danced ominously around the walls, growing darker as she descended. "Mommy, it's dark," Mia whimpered, clutching her sister's hand even tighter. "Just a little further," Lisa managed to say, her voice shaking. The steps were slick and damp underfoot, echoing hollowly as they descended deeper into the abyss. Each step felt like an eternity, and in that darkness, their soft breathing became a thunderous sound. I could see the bottom. She blinked against the dusty, stale air. The beam from the flashlight illuminated an ancient stone wall, its surface marred with scratches and strange symbols that seemed to writhe and twist in the light. Lisa hesitated, scanning the shadows for movement. Another swirl of darkness flickered in the corner of her eye, but when she turned, nothing was there. Just her racing heart. "This isn't right," she whispered, feeling as if the walls themselves were closing in. The weight of the storm above felt far away, yet terrifyingly close. "Mommy?" Sarah's voice quivered, reaching a pitch of panic. "What if we can't get out?" The very thought clawed at Lisa's insides. The storm was just a mere backdrop now, but something more sinister pulsed in the depths of this hollow place. "We will," she assured them weakly. "We'll find a way back upstairs. Just hold on tight." Suddenly, she heard a soft scratching sound, like nails racing against stone. Her heart dropped. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, crouching low to shield her children with her body. Mia nodded, eyes wide and glistening with tears. "What is it?" The scratching grew louder, interwoven with a whispering wind that carried with it a chilling laughter, splintering Lisa's resolve. Goosebumps prickled along her skin. "Stay quiet," she hissed, struggling to keep her voice low. Then, without warning, the flashlight flickered wildly. One moment it bathed the cellar in a golden glow, the next it sputtered and dimmed, casting elongated shadows that seemed to inch closer. When it finally failed, plunging them into darkness, the world around them became a cacophony of sounds, a low groan, followed by shuffling footsteps that moved deliberately toward them. "Mommy," Mia whispered, gripped by terror, her small, trembling body pressing against Lisa. The footsteps stopped, mere inches away, and the air chilled as if something wet and malignant brushed by them. Lisa's breath quickened, hitching in her throat. She reached for the walls, hoping to find some sort of anchor, but it felt like they were pulsating beneath her fingers, alive with secrets she shouldn't uncover. A sharp gasp came from Sarah. "Mommy, it's right there," she cried, pointing into the void. Before Lisa could respond, she sensed a presence looming, a distorted silhouette taking form in the darkness, growing taller and more monstrous by the second. An icy tendril reached through the air, brushing against her cheek. Panic surged through her. She stumbled back, both hands instinctively covering her children as they stood frozen with fear. "Get away," Lisa shouted, the sound echoing through the cellar. The figure hesitated, its form wavering, as if it too was unsure beneath Lisa's fierce defiance. But the whispering grew louder, like 1,000 voices merging into one, threatening, teasing, coaxing. "Lisa, let us in, we can protect them now," she yelled, shaking her head fervently, their voices entwined with the howling storm outside. Then, in a moment that felt as though time had stopped, the flashlight flickered back to life. She caught a glimpse of the darkness surrounding them, a glimpse of faces twisted, tortured, and hollow as they swirled around them. Their mouths opened as if they were screaming, their eyes glowing with despair. Staring into the void, Lisa felt the floor shift beneath her feet, a tremor that threatened to swallow them whole. "We can't stay here," she cried, surprising herself with her sudden determination. Grabbing both girls, she turned to run back up the stairs, but the whispered urgency of the shadows clawed at her mind. "You can't escape, you belong to us now." With her heart pounding, she surged upward, their frantic footsteps echoing against the cold stone. But just as they neared the door, a force pushed against her, a chilling weight pressing down. Would they be able to escape the darkness, or would it claim them forever? In a moment of desperation, she threw open the cellar door, but what awaited them on the other side filled her with dread. The living room was unchanged, and yet the storm outside had calmed, almost too calm. Shadows still loomed, but now, a mingled sense of horror and hope hung in the air. Had they truly escaped? Or was a far worse fate awaiting them just beyond the threshold? With her heart hammering, Lisa dared to step forward, unaware that the storm had merely retreated, its darkness biding time for a return that might be more terrifying than anything they had faced before. Lisa's breath caught as she crossed the threshold. The living room was eerily quiet. The shadows clung to the corners as if watching her every move. Mia and Sarah shuffled behind her, their small hands clutching tightly, seeking comfort while fear coursed through them. "Mommy, it feels wrong." Sarah's whisper broke the oppressive silence. The wood-paneled walls loomed like guardians of secrets, and Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that the air was alive, thick with malevolence. She turned her gaze towards the window. Outside, the storm had quieted, yet something shifted in the stillness. A low, vibrating hum echoed through the house, lingering in her ears. "What is that sound?" Lisa asked, straining to listen. "I think it's coming from the attic," Mia said, her voice trembling. "Stay here," Lisa instructed, forcing courage into her voice even as dread twisted her stomach. She glanced over her shoulder to see her daughters nod, even as terror held them in place. Taking a deep breath, she moved toward the staircase. The familiar creak echoed ominously underfoot, reminiscent of the cellar's whispers. Each step felt like a weight added, pushing her deeper into fear. The attic door loomed at the top, half open, beckoning like a monster's maw. Just beyond it, the sound pulsed a rhythmic thumping that made her skin prickle. As she reached the top, she hesitated, feeling the cool air wash over her. The thumping stopped. The sudden silence was suffocating, unnatural. Lisa grasped the door frame, peeking inside the darkened attic, her heart racing. With a reluctant push, she illuminated the space with her phone's flashlight. Dust motes floated lazily in the beam's glow, revealing old furniture draped in sheets, cobwebs clinging to the rafters like forgotten dreams. But then she saw an open trunk in the corner, its contents spilling out like a reflection of the nightmarish cellar. Curiosity mingled with dread. Was this an answer or the trap that would seal their fates? Stepping closer, she shined her light over the scattered items. Old photographs, tarnished trinkets, and a large, ornate mirror, its surface marred with grime. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the attic, slamming the door behind her. The force rattled the room, and Lisa spun to face it, heart racing. The mirror caught her attention once more. Within its reflection, she saw not just herself, but shadows moving behind her, a flicker of movement, dark and angular, just out of view. "Mommy!" The shriek from the girls echoed up the staircase, and in an instant, the horror of the cellar flooded her mind once again. Lisa pivoted, scrambling toward the stairs, her pulse pounding in her ears. But before she could descend, the attic door swung open again on its own, revealing a chilling figure, a distorted form shrouded in darkness, slowly stepping into the flickering light. "Stay away!" she screamed, backing against the mirror. Its surface shimmered, rippling like water, pulling at her reflection as if longing to burst forth. The figure paused, its features obscured, but the smell of decay filled the air. "You chose to return, now you will join us. You are part of us." The voice was a low hiss, echoing the torment from the cellar. As shards of glass began to splinter across the attic, Lisa's thoughts racing wildly, she dropped her phone, the light dying with it. Panic surged. How could she protect her children? And just then, an icy hand gripped her wrist, pulling her away from the mirror, dragging her back into the shadows of the attic. Would she escape this nightmare, or worse, become yet another lost soul in this cursed house? With her kids' terrified voices fading into the dark, Lisa felt her scream die in her throat, leaving only the suffocating silence behind. What horrors awaited her now, amidst the creeping shadows and the malevolent whispers of old? The grip around Lisa's wrist tightened, cold and clammy, pulling her deeper into the attic's darkness. Her heart raced wildly, a frantic drum echoing in her ears. She wanted to scream, but found her voice swallowed by terror. The shadows danced, swirling around her like a living nightmare. "Mommy!" Mia's voice rang out again, cutting through the oppressive air. Lisa's mind spun, torn between her children's cries and the looming figure that loomed closer, the decay lingering in the air like a bad memory. The figure edged into the light, and for a fleeting moment, Lisa thought she saw its face, a ghastly amalgamation of despair and rage. Its eyes, sunken and hollow, bore into her, stripping away every layer of her facade. Lisa tried to wrench her arm free, but it was like fighting against a vice. The shadows whispered, taunting her, their voices a chaotic symphony of sorrow. "You can't escape your choices." The figure hissed, its breath like ice on her cheek. She thought of the cellar, the terror that had clawed at her senses. Had they heard the stories? The warnings about the spirits that roamed these walls. She had brought them here, and now, she was trapped. "Leave my kids alone," she shouted, desperation filling her with newfound strength. She swung her other fist, catching the figure in the chest, but it was like hitting a stone. It didn't budge. Instead, it leaned in closer, its presence smothering. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated from somewhere in the shadows. Lisa glanced back, afraid of what she might find, and saw the mirror shimmering, its surface swirling as if trying to spit something out. Behind her reflection, specters began to emerge, faces she knew but twisted, their features contorted by anguish. Their mouths moved silently, their eyes begging for release. "Mommy!" The cries of her daughters jolted her back to the present. She tore her gaze from the horrific magnetism of the mirror, focusing on the black figure before her. In a burst of sheer instinct, she kicked backward. Her foot connected with the attic's wooden floorboards, sending vibrations through the figure. For a second, Lisa saw a hint of uncertainty in its presence. Taking that split second, she yanked her arm free, stumbling back into cluttered boxes filled with forgotten relics. "Run! Get down! Now!" Lisa shouted, fear giving her courage. She turned for the stairs, but hesitated. The way down loomed dark, not just from gathering shadows, but from the echoing whispers that promised to pull her back. "I will find you," the figure hissed, its voice sending a shiver through her spine. Lisa lunged for the stairs, tearing her eyes away from the malevolence behind her as she descended. The thumping sound pulsated again, a relentless heartbeat, echoing her panic. She barreled down each step, the wood creaking underfoot as if protesting her rush to escape. Mia and Sarah were still at the base, wide-eyed and shaking, watching their mother with a mixture of hope and terror. "Mommy," they begged to hold on to her, the security of her presence anchoring them against the rising tide of fear. "I'm here," she gasped, pulling her girls into her arms. But the attic door slammed shut behind them, rattling in its frame as she felt its cold breath lingering over her shoulder. Just as she thought they could catch a breath, the house trembled, rattling like it was alive. The walls whispered conspiracies, the air thickening. Was it just her imagination, or was the house shifting, trying to swallow them whole? "Mommy, it's trying to take us," Sarah whimpered, eyes wide and pleading. Lisa's heart sank. They needed to leave, but the house felt like a trap, each creak beneath them a reminder of the lurking horror waiting just out of sight. The windows were dark, the storm outside still raging, no help coming. "No more hiding," the voice from the attic echoed, as the boys' laughter sent chills down Lisa's spine. Clenching her daughter's hands tightly, she whispered, "We have to stick together." But as they turned to flee, something blocking the door made her stop cold. The figure had come for them. What would she have to sacrifice to keep her girls safe? Would they face more than the darkness of the house? Would they confront the shadows within themselves? The question twisted in her mind, a chilling reminder that some horrors go beyond the physical. Lisa's breath hitched. The cold grip of fear washed over her as the heavy presence loomed closer. Panic surged within her like a tidal wave, threatening to drown her in despair. The images from the attic blazed through her mind, the shadows, the specters, the lurking horror. It was all crashing in. She couldn't let her girls face this alone. "Mia, Sarah," she pleaded, her voice a fragile whisper, "we have to push through." The shadowy figure shifted, blocking their only exit, its form warping, twisting as it drew closer. Lisa glanced around frantically. The living room was bathed in darkness, furniture crouching like sentinels in the night. The flickering light from a nearby lamp cast eerie shapes, wrapping them in a web of fear. A shadow of movement caught her eye. An old family portrait hung crookedly on the wall. In it, mouths twisted into sinister smiles, eyes glinting with unspeakable secrets. Were they watching her? Their painted faces seemed to lean towards her, as if urging her to listen to their unspoken warning. "Mommy, please," Sarah sobbed, tears glistening in her eyes. "Hold my hand tight," Lisa whispered urgently, her grip tightening around her daughters. She could feel their little fingers trembling. Then, as if sensing their resolve, the figure lunged, its shadowy hand grasping for them. Time seemed to slow, every heartbeat a drum of terror against the silence. Lisa pushed herself forward, shoving the arm aside, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We can't let it get us," she urged, dashing towards the front door. The wood felt like a barrier, a promise of safety just out of reach. As her heart pounded like a war drum, Lisa began to doubt. Would they escape this caged nightmare? Or was it all an illusion, a cruel play by the house? The door shuddered as they reached it, a heavy thud making them flinch. "Let us out," she yelled, desperation slicing through her voice. She banged against the door, the sound echoing ominously within their prison. "Mommy, I can't breathe," Mia whimpered, her small body trembling against Lisa's. "Just a little longer, sweetheart," Lisa assured, her own resolve faltering. She glanced back over her shoulder. The figure loomed large, taking on new shapes with twisting shadows, each form more grotesque than the last. The shape morphed into a reflection of her worst fears. The face was distorted, an eerie reminder of everything she had ever lost and regretted. "Your choices haunt you," it hissed, words seeping into her mind like poison. The air felt thick, pressing against Lisa's chest. "No," she cried, shaking her head violently as if to dispel the echoes of its torment. "We can choose." With that flicker of defiance, she pushed against the door, the wood creaking in protest. If panic hadn't seized her, perhaps she would have heard the soft whispers from within the house, the almost pleading tones urging her to stay. But all she heard was the cries of her daughters. "Keep pushing," she shouted, muscles straining, her heart clawing against the fear. Suddenly, the door flew open with a force that nearly sent them tumbling backwards. A gust of icy air rushed in, cutting across their faces as the darkness of the house faded into the stormy night outside. Freedom glimmered beyond the threshold, but an icy reminder lingered. It was the night itself, dark and unwelcoming. Even in that moment of reprieve, Lisa's instincts screamed at her to look back. She hesitated, heart caught in her throat. As they crossed into the night, the dark figure remained, a silhouette wrapped in shadows, watching them with a hunger forgotten. "Run," she urged, shoving her daughters forward. But as they dashed into the storm, the winds howled, and the house swayed menacingly behind them. Whispers echoed in the gale. "You can never truly leave." They sprinted into the frigid darkness, but the night felt alive, an unseen force drawing closer, breathing down their necks. No safety lurked in the shadows, just the relentless pursuit of a darkness they couldn't outrun. And as the terror of the night clawed closer, one question loomed larger than the storm. What would happen when the darkness caught up with them? The wind howled a chilling symphony as Lisa led Mia and Sarah deeper into the black of night. Every step felt heavy, like trudging through molasses. They ran, but each gust whispered darkly in their ears, reminding them of the house they'd just escaped. The shadow was still there, lurking just beyond the dim halo cast by the streetlight, blending into the storm as if it thrived in the chaos. "Faster, Mommy." Sarah's small voice trembled, a mix of fear and urgency. "I'm trying, baby. Just stick close," Lisa replied, her heart racing. They passed an old oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers desperately seeking to snatch them back into the night. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled from behind. The sound ignited a primal terror in Lisa. And then, chaos erupted. The invisible presence charged, a whirlwind of shadows desperate to reclaim its prey. "Run!" Lisa screamed, her voice raw, slicing through the frigid air. They veered left down a narrow alley, where garbage cans rattled and discarded newspapers skittered along the ground. The shadows pursued them relentlessly, the growl rising into a roar that drowned out the storm, echoing in the depths of her mind. This was not the escape she dreamed of. This was a nightmare birthed from their harrowing home. Mia slipped, her legs kicking out from beneath her. Time felt like it froze. Lisa lunged, grabbing her daughter's arm, yanking her upright. But not before a shadow whipped past them, brushing against Lisa's shoulder, cold and clammy. It left a trail of ice where it touched, seeping into her skin, making her shiver uncontrollably. "Mom, it's right there," Mia screamed, pointing back. Fearful, Lisa turned, and her blood ran cold. The figure loomed at the alley's entrance, merging with the night, its face a swirling abyss, 1,000 lost souls entwined in its ghastly form. Its eyes, black holes pulling at her sanity, locked onto Lisa's, sending a chill deep into her bones. "Turn around," she yelled, fighting the urge to flee back to the open street. "We have to find a safe place." The girls nodded, urgency driving their small limbs as they surged forward, but the figure was not far behind. Each stride they took sent terror rippling through Lisa's heart. They emerged out of the alley into an empty street, only dimly lit by flickering lamps. Ahead, an old diner, its neon sign pulsing a ghostly blue, seemed to beckon them, a beacon in their dark reality. "Over there," Lisa shouted as they dashed for safety, still feeling the oppressive weight of the darkness on their backs. As they stumbled inside, the air felt different, thick, almost suffocating, and the warmth seemed like an artificial smile. They hurried to the counter, gasping for breath. "Call the police," Lisa ordered, but her voice met the silence of the diner. The handful of patrons sat frozen, their eyes vacant, faces pale, a tableau of faded memories, as if they had all seen the same horror but chose not to speak of it. A flicker of hope pierced Lisa's heart, but dread came clawing back as she heard a low growl just outside the door. "Mommy, I don't want to stay," Mia whimpered, her eyes wide with fear. The diner's door rattled, as if something outside sought entrance. The growl morphed into whispers, wrapping around them, entangling their minds. "You can't hide from it," it hissed, a malicious echo that sent shivers racing down Lisa's spine. She looked at her daughters, their faces pale and etched with dread, hearts pounding, and realized this nightmare was not over. They might have escaped the house, but the darkness had followed. With a deep breath, she turned to the ghostly figures in the diner. "What do you know?" But as she spoke, the lights overhead flickered and dimmed, plunging the diner into sudden darkness. Their only sound was the whisper of shadows creeping closer, shrouded in an unholy chant of despair. Lisa's heart raced. Could they fight back? Every instinct screamed at her to flee again. But what if this time, there was nowhere left to run? The door slammed open. Something entered, and the last vestiges of hope. Shattered like glass, what waited in the dimness could change everything. The diner erupted into chaos as the door swung wide, revealing a silhouette cloaked in darkness. It blocked the faint light from outside, casting an even deeper shadow across all the patrons. A cold wave of dread washed over Lisa and her daughters. Beneath the cacophony of rain and wind, the deafening silence inside the diner made every heartbeat sound like a war drum. Lisa clenched Mia and Sarah's hands tightly, her legs frozen with fear as the figure stepped forward. "Welcome." The voice that came from the abyss was a low rasp, sending shivers down Lisa's spine. It echoed like a distant memory, resurfacing the horrors they had fled. The patrons remained pallid and still, as if spellbound. The cash register hung open, coins shimmering like eyes, all watching the grim performance unfolding in their midst. "Who are you?" Lisa finally managed to stammer, though it felt barely a whisper. The shadowed figure laughed, a grating sound that seemed to churn the thick air around them. A flash of lightning illuminated its face, revealing features that twisted into grotesque form, smiles that were phantoms of joy, eyes that bore no soul. Lisa's stomach churned as she fought back the urge to scream. "You've trespassed into our domain," it hissed, stepping closer. "You thought you could escape? We are the remnants of fear. We dwell in the shadows, and we hunger." "Mom, what is happening?" Sarah whimpered, clenching her mother's arm. Lisa could feel her heart racing, hammering against her ribs like a desperate bird seeking freedom. "We can't stay here," Lisa shouted, adrenaline igniting her limbs. She risked a glance at the door. Outside, the storm roared louder, chaos waiting. But this horrific presence was no less menacing. "Don't look away," the figure warned. Its voice was a low growl, but the sinister promise behind its words sent Lisa's instincts into overdrive. "Your fear nourishes us. It will bring us even greater power." Around her, the diners seemed to nod in agreement, faces slack, lips curling in silent anticipation. They craved the terror, starved for the despair that now wrapped around Lisa like a snake. "We must leave," she breathed, glancing at Mia and Sarah. "On three, we run." Without warning, the lights flickered again, and a series of quick shadows darted past the windows, a parade of dread. Lisa's eyes widened, her mind racing. Was it merely the storm, or something else out there? "Run!" she screamed, and in an instant, the spell was broken. The patrons erupted from their stupor, shrieks filling the air as they surged toward the back exit, desperate for freedom. "Mommy, stay with me," Mia cried, pulling at Lisa's sleeve. The commotion faded into a distant roar, swallowed by the chaos of the storm outside. But Lisa stood paralyzed, a wall of darkness threatening to engulf her. She yanked Sarah closer, the reality of their situation crashing down like an avalanche. They had become the prey. With a pounding heart, she turned to the counter. The screens blinked erratically to life, a surreal, flickering invitation to the unknown. Shadows writhed on the walls, their whispers mingling with the storm, promising safety or perhaps revealing new horrors. "How do we fight it?" Lisa shouted into the growing darkness, desperation echoing in her voice. Suddenly, she felt cold breath on her ear, the night's voice murmuring, "You can't fight what's within." As they stumbled toward the back door, Lisa's blood ran cold. What had they awakened? What pieces of the past would they have to confront to escape this madness? The door swung open behind them, and all at once, they were engulfed in shadows. What lay ahead could either destroy them or offer one last hope for survival. The shadows swallowed them whole, a thick and suffocating darkness that tightened around Lisa and her girls like a vice. Panic clawed at her throat, echoing with every beat of her racing heart. She could barely see Sarah and Mia beside her, their silhouettes outlined only by fleeting flashes of lightning. "Stay close," Lisa shouted, though her voice trembled, bleeding fear. They stumbled out the door, the howling wind meeting them like a pack of wolves eager for prey. Rain battered against their skin, sharp as bullets, blinding their vision. They had escaped the diner, but freedom felt like an illusion. Where would they go? The darkened road stretched out before them, an empty expanse full of secrets and whispers. Mom, where are we going?" Mia's small voice quivered, barely audible over the storm. "I don't know," Lisa gasped, shame burning in her throat. "Just keep moving." A flicker of hope sparked as they approached the dim light of a nearby gas station, its neon sign sputtering like a dying star. As they rushed closer, the gas station loomed ahead, a sanctuary of light against the relentless storm. But the same dread she felt inside the diner seeped back into her bones. "Why does it feel like something's watching us?" Sarah murmured, her blue eyes scanning the shadows hungrily leaping around them. An unbearable chill crept up Lisa's spine. "It's just the storm. Keep moving." They burst through the glass doors, the bell tinkling above them a bleak greeting in the unsettling hush. The shelves were lined with snacks, water, and last-minute travel essentials, yet the air felt stale, thick with an ill omen. The clerk behind the counter looked up, eyes vacant, a slow smile curving his lips as if he'd been expecting them. "You're a long way from home," he drawled, dragging out each word like molasses. "Help us." "We just ran from," Lisa began before a painful knot formed in her throat. The memory of the figure loomed large in her mind. She couldn't utter it. His gaze flicked to the door, and for one terrifying moment, Lisa thought she saw a flicker of something dark stalking her daughters. An understanding flared in the clerk's eyes, glistening with knowledge he wouldn't share. "We don't get many visitors during the storms. Most people know better. You shouldn't have come." He leaned forward, crossing his arms, reveling in their discomfort. "What do you mean?" Lisa demanded, keeping her girls behind her like shields. "You've stirred things." His voice lowered, thick with a dangerous timbre. "Those who dwell in shadows, they don't take kindly to intrusions." Mia and Sarah shivered against her, and Lisa felt their small bodies tremble. The atmosphere was stifling, pressing against them like a lead weight. "Leave while you still can." "What about the others?" Lisa shot back, panic fueling her words as thoughts of the diners echoed in her mind. "They didn't run. They were consumed. They were already lost," he said flatly. "And soon, you will be, too." A crash outside silenced the gas station as the door shook violently. Lisa flinched, her heart racing again. "What was that?" she hissed. But the clerk only chuckled, an unsettling sound that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Every storm brings its own terrors. Would you like to see what else is waiting out there?" The lights flickered, and suddenly the shelves of snacks morphed into shadowy figures, grotesque reflections of those lost in fear. Heart pounding, Lisa turned to her daughters, their eyes wide with terror. "Get ready to run," she whispered, gripping their hands tightly. But the clerk's voice, faint but chilling, called out to them from the darkness. "The true horror is still to come. You can't escape what you've awakened." Before she could process his words, the door burst open again, a surge of wind blanketing them in the bitter cold. Something was waiting for them just outside, and the gas station flickered like a dying candle, threatening to extinguish hope along with it. With a pounding heart and time slipping away, Lisa's feet lurched forward. But would running bring them closer to safety or deeper into the abyss? As they crossed the threshold, Lisa felt the air shift around them. What awaited outside, she could hardly bear to imagine. The air outside was raw and electric, crackling with tension. Lisa clutched Mia and Sarah tighter, her heart thumping like a war drum. The storm raged around them, shrieking as if warning them of the horrors looming just beyond the gas station's doors. They stumbled forward into the void, the icy tendrils of fear wrapping around them. "Don't look back," Lisa urged. "Just keep moving." They rushed across the pavement, the wind whipping against their faces like icy daggers. Each gust seemed to pull them back as if the night itself wanted to reclaim them. "Where do we go?" Mia gasped, panic dancing in her eyes as she glanced back at the gas station, the exit now engulfed in darkness. "Anywhere but here," Lisa shouted back, her voice hoarse with urgency. They wove through the gusting wind, seeking refuge in the embrace of the unknown. Ahead, amid the storm's chaos, stood a flickering street lamp casting a weak halo of light. It felt like a beacon, guiding them through their darkest hour. "That way," she pointed, desperation fueling their speed. With each step, the fog of despair seemed to lift just a bit, but shadows danced around them, laughing in the dark. As they reached the lamp, the light flickered violently. Lisa's heart sank. "Stay together," she cried, her eyes darting toward every corner around them. Suddenly, shadows swirled at the edges of the light, creeping closer, eager to snatch them back into the dark. The low growl they had heard before echoed once more, sending a shiver down Lisa's spine. "Mom, I'm scared," Sarah whimpered. "I know, baby. I'm right here," she reassured, though her own voice quaked with fear. They needed to think. They needed a plan. But the storm roared, drowning out all other sounds, a cacophony of terror. Then Lisa remembered the truck she had seen parked back at the diner. Maybe it was their only chance. "This way," she shouted, her instincts kicking in. They dashed toward the alley leading to the diner, each step heavy with dread, the shadows hot on their heels. "Mom, I can't feel my legs," Mia cried, her small voice breaking. "Just a bit further, I promise." Lisa pushed, though doubts clawed at her heart. They reached the diner's backside, the door still ajar. With all her strength, Lisa pushed the door open and rushed inside. The air was thick, charged with an unsettling stillness. There must be a way out. They were just moments away from escape. "Mia, Sarah, stay by me," Lisa commanded. She scanned the dark diner, every shadow coated in shadows, waiting, watching. The figures in the diner now appeared dormant, as if the chaos outside had compelled them to stillness. "Look, the truck," Sarah pointed, relief flooding her voice. Lisa's eyes locked onto the vehicle, a rusted old pickup in the corner of the parking lot, flickering lights promising safety. With a determined nod, she ushered the girls forward. "Let us go." They sprinted toward the truck, light dimming as the storm raged, if only for a moment. Just as they reached the truck door, it swung open, that familiar cold chill washing over them. Then it whispered, "You can't escape who you are. We're not done with you yet." Lisa felt a paralyzing grip wrap around her heart. She shoved the girls into the back of the truck and jumped in the front. "Start the engine." Her voice was filled with frantic urgency. But the moment she turned the key, nothing happened. Panic rose within her as the whispers grew louder. They clawed at her sanity, insisting she succumb to the darkness. "Please, come on," she begged, turning the key again. After what felt like an eternity, the engine coughed to life, almost in defiance. She threw the truck into gear, tires screeching against the pavement. "Hold on," Lisa shouted as they sped into the darkness, the town dissolving into shadow behind them. But even as they escaped, the storm raged on, raging a war between light and dark. As they drove into the unknown, the whispers faded, but the chilling feeling of being watched hung in the air. They were free, but for how long? "Mommy?" Mia's small voice trembled in the dark. "Are they still behind us?" "I don't." "No," Lisa admitted, gripping the wheel, willing her heart to slow. "But they're not going to get us. Not now." And in that moment, they realized fear does not just lurk in the shadows. It thrives in the choices we make. But no matter what awaited them in the depths of the night, together they could face the darkness, finding strength in their bond. The girl's whispers of reassurance filled the truck, driving the darkness away, if only for now. So they pressed on, the storm at their backs, seeking dawn rather than the shadows lurking ever deeper. The journey was far from over, but Lisa knew she would protect her girls at any cost, no matter the shadowy truths they would inevitably face. You need to subscribe now to catch the next chilling conclusion and hear more stories that'll shake you to your core. Smash that like button to fuel the algorithm and help spread the word about these spine-tingling tales. Flood the comments with your theories and reactions about Lisa's fate. What do you think happened next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who also crave the thrill of the unknown. Safe travels into the darkness, but make sure you stay with us for the next adventure.